father-son relationship.
A bond rekindled. On the outskirts of a bustling city, a small hardware store stood on a quiet street corner. Its faded sign, Mason and Son Tools, told a story of partnership and legacy. Yet, the bond between the father and son who ran the store had frayed over the years, becoming as worn as the tools they sold. David Mason, a grizzled man in his late 50s, was a man of routine and practicality. He had built the store from scratch, pouring his blood, sweat, and tears into its success. His son, Ryan, in his early 30s, was a dreamer and artist at heart. Growing up, Ryan felt suffocated by his father's rigid expectations and had left home at 18, chasing his artistic aspirations in the city. Years later, after a series of disappointments, Ryan returned to the small town. His art career had faltered, and he was drowning in debt. Reluctantly, he agreed to help his father at the store. It was meant to be temporary, but weeks turned into months, and their uneasy truce simmered beneath the surface. The breaking point, one afternoon, as they were unpacking a shipment of hammers and nails, an argument erupted. "You're stacking them wrong," David grumbled, shaking his head. "Does it really matter, Dad?" Ryan snapped. "No one's going to care how the shelves look." "It matters because it's our name on the door," David retorted. "You wouldn't understand. You've never cared about this place." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Maybe I didn't care because all you ever cared about was the store." "Not me." The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. David's face hardened, but there was a flicker of hurt in his eyes. A challenge arises. The tension between them was interrupted the next morning by an unexpected challenge. A freak storm had swept through the town overnight, leaving destruction in its wake. When David and Ryan arrived at the store, they found the roof partially collapsed, water leaking onto the inventory. Their livelihood was at stake. "We can't afford to close the store," David muttered, surveying the damage. "We'll figure it out," Ryan said, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. Together, they rolled up their sleeves. The first step was salvaging the inventory. As they worked side by side, they began to find a rhythm. Ryan's creative problem-solving complemented David's practical know-how. When they discovered a leak that couldn't be patched immediately, Ryan devised a makeshift tarp system to redirect the water away from the shelves. "Not bad," David admitted grudgingly. Ryan allowed himself a small smile. "Thanks, Dad." Rediscovering common ground, over the next few weeks, repairing the store became a shared mission. They worked long hours, often eating dinner together at the workbench. For the first time in years, they really talked. David shared stories about his early struggles building the business, stories Ryan had never heard. "I wanted to make sure you never had to worry about a roof over your head," David confessed one night, his voice tinged with regret. "But I guess I didn't realize I was pushing you away." Ryan, in turn, opened up about his failures and fears. "I wanted to prove I could make it on my own. But when things fell apart, I didn't know how to face you. I thought you'd see me as a failure." David placed a calloused hand on his son's shoulder. "You're not a failure, Ryan. You're my son. That's what matters." A new chapter. As the store's repairs neared completion, the bond between father and son had strengthened. They began discussing changes to the business, combining David's traditional approach with Ryan's fresh ideas. Ryan proposed hosting DIY workshops and using social media to attract younger customers. Though skeptical at first, David agreed to give it a shot. The first workshop, led by Ryan, was a resounding success. Seeing his son teach a group of enthusiastic attendees filled David with pride. For the first time, he saw the artist in Ryan as an asset, not a liability. "You've got a gift for this," David told him afterward. Ryan grinned. "Guess I had a good teacher." Moving forward, months later, Mason and Son Tools had become a hub for the community. The workshops brought in new customers, and the store's updated look appealed to a broader audience. More importantly, David and Ryan had found a new respect for each other. One evening, as they locked up the store, David handed Ryan a set of keys. "You've earned these," he said, This story's as much yours as it is mine now." Ryan's throat tightened. "Thanks, Dad." As they walked to their cars, the faded sign overhead caught Ryan's eye. For the first time, it felt like more than a name. It was a symbol of their shared journey, their shared future, and this time, they were in it together.